So the transition program that everybody goes through is awful. But there may be people that hear this that know there are individuals out there that are able to help. Use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the Bible. LinkedIn offers that free year of premium service for a service member that's leaving. Use, yeah, that's solid. So you can like Google it, like, veteran face or veteran LinkedIn premium membership, whatever, just Google it, find it, sign up, and you're good to go. That's important to start networking there.
Welcome to How I Embraced the Suck, a podcast where you get to hear from veterans what life in the military is really like. I am your host, Walt, and before we start, you should know that I do not censor the show in any way. You have been warned. Yeah, my knowledge is kind of spotty. Growing up, I read a lot, but it was usually from like a 1980 book from the library, Bill Gunston or something like that. So I for a while I thought the Harrier was a brand new airplane.
Yeah.
When it was already 20 years in service or something. So
You would be surprised. So, for example, when I got out of the Marine Corps and I went into industry to support, I still enjoy supporting DoD, right? So departing your service doesn't necessarily mean your service is over, and you don't. A lot of people have some sort of idea that, well, I almost joined, but I didn't have a chance to serve or do whatever. Like people don't realize that you don't need to wear a uniform to serve, right? You can serve your community. You could be a leader in some way. You can lead your cul-de-sac, right? Neighborhood watch, be in the church, whatever you got to do. There are other ways to serve your people, your country, right? Then you don't have to throw a uniform on and go do what you believe is physically taxing type of activities. So leaving the military too, leaving the service doesn't mean your service ends, because again, you can serve anytime throughout your life. And I enjoyed supporting those that continue to support. If you wear a uniform, cool, whatever. But the mission's still important. National defense is still important. There's still a lot of bad people out there that don't like us because of who we are, what we do, things like that. So going into industry and helping in information technology in the IT realm, there's still a lot of opportunities to help DoD. And I found that we had some weaknesses there when I was in, and everybody gets aggravated in some of the things that they do when it comes to
right.
It could be as simple as a travel claim, submitting for leave, how you get paid, like all the things that we do that are technology based. And thank God we have it. It's not like getting a paper check and mailing stuff. Like that's painful. We've become a society of convenience in a lot of places, and there's only more to go, but like technology could still help DoD. And so that means you can still help DoD when you leave. And I did in IT, and I ended up working on, and to my point, I ended up working on like the F-22 program, right? For Lockheed Martin.
Okay.
So, a lot of it's based down in Fort Worth, Texas, right across from where one of our sister squadrons is, up at the Air Reserve Base, Joint Reserve Base. And the F-22, phenomenal fighter, right? You talk about all the fighters and stuff. When do you think that airplane was really created? When was it? When did it come to life?
Conceptually or fly, you mean?
Both.
Oh yeah, it was quite a development time for sure.
Yeah. The code
the P-51 was what, 150 days or something?
Well,
and the F-22 was years.
The idea of the Harrier, you thought like back in the 80s, like, you know what I mean? Like when did it really come alive? When did it get put to use? And that was the A model. Well, the F-22, there's only the F-22. And a lot of that stuff was, that was in the 80s too. That was using a code base that I don't think anybody can even write anymore. And it's called Ada. Like you have Python and Java and, all these other code languages. And this thing was built with Ada, and it's like only written in books. So it's amazing to see like ingenuity and what we as, Americans and a lot of smart people have built these really awesome airplanes. But that was like in the heyday, right? Space shuttles and other cool stuff. It was all the 80s, man. It's true.
Yeah. Well, usually, well, I should probably introduce you. We have Dusty, and usually I like to start the show low on the interest scale and ramp it up as we go. But today we're gonna do it backwards.
All downhill from here. It's all downhill.
Dusty used to not only be a JTAC but also fly Fat Albert for the Blue Angels. So that's the if that is the high point of the show, that's high enough. but we may go yet higher.
We'll see. No promises.
See. Yeah. So I'm curious about the Fat Albert. Did you do the demonstration flights also? Like, is the one pilot does everything, or do you share the responsibilities?
We swap. So there's 3 pilots typically. So our whole air crew, we're all KC-130 members from the Marine Corps community that apply to the team. And usually there's like a 1 in, 1 out type of thing. There are circumstances where either some people get hurt or they can't stay on the team and they may leave early. And then you might have to like bring like 2 new pilots on at a time and train them up. But they're the typical, what's standard is you try to have 3 on the team. And it's usually, you're there for 3 years. You'll go, you're in, you stay for 3 years, you're out. And then there's always 1 in after that. And sometimes there were some nuance to that. Like in my case, I was there for 2.5 years because we had 2 depart earlier to me, but it's all kind of semantics. But you want 3, you want 3 pilots there. You want enough crew that you don't burn people out, right? Because you're on the road over 300 days a year, but you work as a team to maintain the airplane and to fly the demonstrations and to do the primary mission, which is logistics, like moving the team from point A to point B. And in the event something happens to one of the Hornets and you need a new engine, for example, you go get the engine and bring it back so they could swap it out.
Right.
And the show goes on. So that's typically what happens. Like one pilot will do the demonstration flying in the left seat primarily, and then the co-pilot in the right seat will be doing all the radio calls and kind of like sanity check backing up through the demonstration for safety purposes.
Okay.
And then we'll swap them up. Like if it was a Texas show, I'd call them my hometown show. And then I would fly in the left seat. But then I could do another show in like California and I don't know anybody there. It's not like family or anybody else. I'd fly in the right seat, or I wouldn't fly at all. And I'd do some other kind of ground job, like stay in the tower to help out with deconfliction or whatever. So that's typically how it works. There's a primary flyer that does the demonstration, but we're all 3 of us are capable of doing it.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Have the relatively local guy fly it.
Yeah.
Get his name on the speaker and everything.
True.
What was the order? You said you did KC-130. Obviously, that was before Fat Albert, and then you did JTAC also. What was the order of that, and kind of the process or the flow, rather? I guess what took you from one to the other.
I wouldn't say it's not necessarily typical either, but there doesn't need to be anything typical with the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps it's a unique organization that's very different than the Navy, very different than the Air Force, for example, because the Marine Corps is smaller. They tend to need to do more with less. So while you're going, everybody goes through training, right? You're going to get your primary MOS, your military occupational specialty, and then you're off to the fleet for the most part. And then you really learn how to do your job, right? Some OJT type of stuff. So go through, get your wings, you end up at your first squadron. You'll learn how to fly the aircraft effectively and tactically, and then advance through the stages of that. but you'll also have a ground job. So it could be in, administrative, intelligence, operations, maintenance. Like you need to actually do real work. So you in the Marine Corps, you're really evaluated through our fitness report system. You're evaluated mostly on your ground job, your ability to lead Marines and do work.
Okay.
Your flying ability, that's kind of like it has partial career kind of implications. If you're a good stick and you're really good at some things, you may go do some advanced training, which getting additional qualifications will then bring you back into the cockpit, which then may bring you back into a department head tour. It may do some things for you.
Sure.
But most of it, your evaluations are on paper that are, that go to the promotion boards and things like that, are based on your ability to lead Marines on the ground, right, in your job.
Interesting. Okay.
But now you're how do you become a JTAC? How do you go do something else? Well,
Right.
And that's the beauty of the Marine Corps is they will let you diversify your kind of passion, your career path. So I knew, like, when I got in, there were defining moments in your life. Like, I knew I wanted to be a pilot. I knew I wanted to join the military. And then 9/11 happened. I was in college at Texas A&M, and I knew it like solidified it, right? Like, I want to go in. I want to go do something about this.
Sure.
So flying, and especially flying the KC-130, because most of your missions are very much separated from the main effort of whatever battle may be occurring on the ground, right? So you're not directly affecting the nation's diplomacy or the main effort, the Marine Rifle Squad on the ground. You're not directly helping them or doing that mission. You're like 2 or 3 levels back because you're maybe giving gas to the fighters that are actually supporting those Marines on the ground. So I knew around there that I want to be able to influence that and help those Marines, like I said, the main effort. And that's when I had the opportunity, and it was a very quick, no notice type of thing where I had a set of orders that I was going to go to a new duty station. I landed in Hawaii on a mission, and I was picking somebody up, and I got an email from our monitor, which is the guy that gives us our orders and kind of helps us with career progression. And he said that he had what they called a hot fill open. And it was like something had occurred where somebody fell out, and now they have an opening for a JTAC. Would I like to do it? And I told him that I wanted that opportunity. And so that set in motion, a good chunk of my career after that. And this was 2000, I think it's 2008. So I'd already had, my plans of PCSing had been changed where I stopped in California at Coronado to do some training to be a JTAC. And then I showed up to my first unit on the East Coast, which was 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines. I was there for 4 business days. It was like Thursday I checked in, Friday I was there, and the XO walked in the morning and told me, hey, there's another battalion that's already in theater, and they're short a JTAC, so I'll let you know by noon if you're going to deploy or not. And this was on a Friday, right? And so it was like 2 hours later, he's like, hey, man, just go get all your gear, get all your, check out essentially of what you just did. Just turn around and undo all of that. And then we're going to get you over to 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines and get you out there to deploy. So I just got out of school. I'd gotten there, checked in, grabbed a bunch of extra gear, and then I went to Afghanistan after that as a JTAC.
So you went from feeling like your job, while important, wasn't really directly contributing to bam in theater.
Yeah.
Just
ye ask, ye shall receive. Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh. Now is JTAC an officer position, or can it be enlisted? What's the hierarchy of responsibilities?
So it can be both. So the Joint Terminal Attack Controller role itself is usually reserved for officers and like senior staff NCOs that are pretty proficient in their skill set already. Mm-hmm. They have the situation awareness and the knowledge, like they can actually learn the skill set and use it effectively. It's a hard skill set to learn. We went through the training, and the attrition rate there was 55%. So we we attrited 50% of our class that they did not pass. So that's a problem. You got staffing. You have a requirement that's in a theater of war, and now you can't staff it because your school is so tough that it's cutting half your guys. So
Sure.
you need to have some very smart staff NCOs. And actually, I think you could be a sergeant too, if I'm not mistaken. But it's been a while.
Okay.
But it's a great, the ability to train these Marines and airmen too. They do that, and soldiers. Great school, great capability. I think it's a requirement, it's a necessity. Like it is definitely a force multiplier when you learn to do things by a standard, to call in close air support, because it's dangerous, man. Like what's the number one problem you have with calling in close air support? It's killing yourself, right? Because it's tough.
Yeah.
I've been on both ends. I've been on the receiving end of the ordnance, and I've been on the sending end of the ordnance later in my career. So knowing the difference of like that, where's the good guy, where's the bad guy?
Yeah.
Shooting the right one is a thing. And typically, like rewind, so that's the officer and the enlisted. That's the JTAC term. Unofficially, back in Vietnam, they would have aviators on the ground, and they would call them forward air controllers. So FAC.
Okay.
That's where the FAC term comes from, because typically only pilots did it. And who better to talk to a pilot than another pilot? So it just kind of made it easier for correlation, because they've been in the seat. They know what it looks like from the air.
Right. Huh. So JTAC, is that all? That's in the field, correct?
I mean, that's the official term. Yeah, that's like, no kidding, MOS, like it is listed as Joint Terminal Attack Controller, and it goes across different services, hence the joint term. So the Air Force has JTACs, Army. I don't know if the Army has them proper, because I think that's why the Air Force has these liaison officers that'll come over. But I mean, I would imagine they should, but I didn't get a chance to really work with them.
But I mean, the position involves being in the field with the troops and calling in directly. Okay.
For the most part.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Like, if you mean by a strict definition of, can you be straight leg infantry walking, with the Marines on the ground? Yeah. Should you be? Well, it depends. It's all mission dependent. Would it be better for you to be there calling in close air support? Would it be better for you to be in some sort of COC, a command environment, where you have a lot of like situational awareness from like ISR, like predators on station? You can see their feed. It all depends, but typically the Marine Corps employs them in a field-like environment more often than not. But there's usually only like one of you per company, or two of you per company, and so you're not like, there ain't 10,
So it's not like every squad doesn't have its own.
Yeah, no, it's like, I had one of great staff sergeant Lunchbox. He was actually pretty much forward the whole time, so he was the one like running around on the ground. I would occasionally get out every once in a while if I wasn't doing like PowerPoint and planning and like looking through ISR feeds and doing that.
Sure.
Stuff. But it was fun to get out every once in a while.
Yeah. So if you were that restricted, is that how you operated? Like that Lunchbox you mentioned, did you rely on him to communicate actual field data?
Well,
and combine it with what else you had? Yeah,
I guess now it all really depends. Like, the Marines are really good about the whole improvise, adapt, and overcome type thing. So Staff Sergeant Taylor, the position that he was in, like, I knew since he was in his position that I needed to help him get more things. If that's more aircraft support, or like all the things that I could take off of his shoulders so that he could work an aircraft and do his job, right? Then I would do that. I don't need him to fill out requests to do this, that, or the other. If I can help him do that, then we would kind of flow it down.
Sure.
Because I had more radios where I was, and he was more focused on the tactical aspect of it in this certain circumstance. And then sometimes it would switch. Sometimes he would come up to where I was, and then I would get like in a helicopter and then go to these little villages, and we would do, multi-day operations, and it would be him pushing aircraft to me. So that's how we typically worked. Not saying it's standard at all, though. It's whatever at that point works, then it works.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Huh. And so you would be calling on multiple services, correct? Not just the Marines.
As far as like aircraft
as far as
support?
aircraft.
Yeah.
Okay.
And coalition. I mean, we had the Dutch, the Emirates, I think, sent out F-16s at one point too. So it was a very diverse set of aircraft that were out there. But the preponderance of it would be Marine rotary wing, Marine Harriers, and the call sign was Hoot at the time. And if it was anything other than that, then it was a mix of Navy F-18s and a lot of different Air Force, like F-16s, A-10s, and the like. So it definitely, once you got past the Marine Corps rotary and Harriers, then it just kind of opened up, and it was like, it depended on what was going on too. So if you have troops in contact, you get everything. So I just got stuff poured on me at that point, which is cool.
So when you're dealing with maybe a different branch, or even like you were saying, a coalition, was the communication delayed a little bit because of well, there we go.
Well, there's no delay. Like, as far as like, I'm talking to them.
Sure, not in terms of like a communication delay, more of authorization delay, for example.
No,
or you're authorized to talk to them. Boom, you're in their cockpit.
Yeah. So that's all standardized.
Okay.
So like the terminology, like through the JTAC syllabus,
right?
The airframes want to train to that standard too. So we would work together, right? So
gotcha. Okay.
Anything that I say, specific words have very specific meaning, so that everybody across every service and the coalition understand those specific words. Like when you say cleared hot, that means cleared hot. You're right. Authorized to release ordnance. And rifle means something. It's all standardized terminology, and everybody trains to that standard. Okay. Now, there is a problem with accents, and especially, I mean, I had a hell of a time trying to understand this. I think she's a female Dutch pilot. Wow. It was a thing, man. Like, anything, I had to like stop everything I was doing just to like listen in, and it was in a very bad situation. Like, a lot was going on, and to be able to like try to tune everything out so you could hear through her accent what she's trying to tell you. It's that was the comedic one. I mean, things get so bad, you're just like, how could things get worse? And then you get her on the radio, and Jesus, it was, and that's not her fault at all. Like, that's
sure,
our fault, right?
Yeah,
our ability to understand. I mean, hell, she probably didn't know what I was saying coming from Texas. You know what I mean?
Right.
A team game.
And the very specificity of the terms makes it even more critical if you misunderstand it.
Hey, man, I would be good with the terms, but this is the part of like now normal human interaction and trying to talk very plain language of what's going on. But the plain language barrier that we had was a thing in itself, because the art. So that's the science piece. You have to do these things in order to get this result, right? That's most, science of ordnance and everything that we do. And the middle part is the correlation. I see this. I'm trying to talk to you. Do you see this too? Yes, it matches. Okay, that's your target. That is the art. That's the hard piece right there.
Right.
And that's the part where I didn't understand a damn thing she was saying. So
yeah. Was it different? Did you have to adjust your not your expectations, but just like your I guess kind of expectations when you were dealing with, say, a helicopter versus an F-16?
Yeah.
Just because of their capabilities.
Capabilities and just space and time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fixed wing moves faster. Fixed wing's higher, though. Fixed wing capability with a targeting pod is a little different than a helo, but people act different also with a helo versus they do a fixed wing aircraft. And I mean specifically the enemy, especially the Taliban.
Sure.
The Taliban knows, hey man, when a Cobra, a Huey, a mixed section's showing up, Hey man, I'm not playing. I'm not playing. So we would
Right.
typically, I would typically hide them. Like I would make sure that they are low enough, far enough away to mask the sound.
Sure.
I'm not trying to deter anything. I'm trying to kill you. I mean,
Right.
don't get me wrong. You're actively trying to hurt me, and you're setting up an ambush and all this stuff. It's a chess game, so
Right.
I'm about to knock you out, right? For fixed wing, they don't respect them, which is fine. Gives me another opportunity to see them. If you don't respect them, they're just going to keep doing what they're going to do. So
Mm.
they're so high, and their time to employ takes a little longer too. They need to set up on a certain profile in order to get the aircraft at the right speed, right altitude to set to release the ordnance at the right time
Sure.
to make it effective. But it's different, man. With a helicopter, it's a gun. I'm going to point it
Mm-hmm.
and shoot it, or it's a Hellfire missile, which is really quick too. So
Right.
it's
Right.
unique.
And probably has a higher aspect launch capability, I would think.
The
As
fixed wing does.
yeah,
As far as
yeah.
90 degrees straight down type of thing, yeah, like that. If you had to rank them, and I'm not, I've never interrogate. Well, I didn't interrogate the Taliban and ask a question of what do you fear most,
Yeah.
right? But I would imagine, based on the actions that I saw, it was always helicopters, like attack helicopters, and they called them gunships.
Mm-hmm.
Predators, which they could very rarely see, or like any kind of armed ISR,
Mm-hmm.
and then fixed wing aircraft in that order.
Sure. Yeah, speaking of planes, a lot of people don't realize that even a laser guided bomb, you can't just drop and then it magically hits the target. Again, you
Yeah.
have to be in like you were saying, a specific profile.
Well, we do have GPS, but there's the happy medium, right? So you could be above the clouds and nobody will ever see you. And you can actually program in a predetermined set of coordinates to a certain degree of accuracy, and you could just drop it through the clouds. You'll never need to see it, but you could drop it and, bada bing, right? The JDAM works. Doesn't work for moving targets because a coordinate's a coordinate, right? But laser guided munitions are, I think, preferable to all the target sets that we had out there just because they were moving.
Mm-hmm.
They needed to be fast, and not more often than not need to be a Hellfire that has that ability to move as the laser moved. Yeah.
Right.
That's a good question, though.
What was kind of the difference between unit? I mean, if you just join the unit in country, you don't not the specific unit, but just like the tempo of operations or the attitude toward operations in country, as opposed to being Blue Angels, as opposed to being a tanker pilot. Does that make sense? Like,
rephrase. It's a question. So,
yeah, please.
What's your attitude? Is that what you're saying? Like,
well, or not just you, but like the unit attitude.
Yeah. So it's definitely different, and it always will be. And this is the hard part about human nature. It's hard not to be complacent, right? For one, like you continue to do things over and over again. It'll definitely wear on a human. And taking a person, and imagine this podcast is only so long, and so keeping attention is very easy. I'm going to have you do this for 6 months. And it's like, okay. You know what I mean? Like some things are going to change. Maybe you get lazy doing it, cutting corners. I mean, it's just human nature, but combat's different. Combat puts you in a weird spot. So when you first get into theater, I mean, it's like your adrenaline's running, you're ready, your heightened awareness. You get into zone and it's completely different. Like you're turned on, the switch is turned on and you're ready to go. Like you're calm, but you're still ready. And the outgoing unit, right, is kind of like, woo, all right, you guys got it. I did it. My time's up.
Right.
There's a bit of joy, to the departure and excitement, if you will.
Hmm.
So, and there's also some of that, like, yeah, you don't need to do that. The turnover is always unique where,
Right.
this is the way we do things. This is how you should do them type of attitude. And the other guys are like, I don't want to listen to anything you did. I want to do it my way. And this is being very, just, I don't know what you want to call it. Like, it's overgeneralizing quite a bit. That's not how it really goes.
Sure.
But to emphasize that, like, you're very much receptive to everything that they did, but you're also very receptive to everything going on around you and analyzing everything that is going on, what they've done, what you want to do. You're not starting over from scratch, but you kind of treat it as such and you take those lessons learned, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Your attitude is you're turned on, you're ready to go, and to keep that energy is hard, right?
Sure.
It's definitely playing like, I can't say it's a football game because it's a lot of stop start like that, but soccer is probably the better analogy to war that people need to accept because it's
Hmm.
always on, and it's constant little movements and bursts of speed, but you're excited as the game starts, and then you're in the moment, you're just in the flow, right? You're just doing
Right.
your thing. Maybe you make some adjustments here and there, but it don't stop. It's always
Mm-hmm.
going. Sometimes you have extra minutes added on because of stoppages, right? You didn't expect that, but it's going to happen. It's
Right.
very
Huh.
strategic in nature. So the morale's its own thing, but like the operational switch and being turned on is something different to me. And so it's good to leave, and when you get there, it's a weird thing, man. And I think a lot of Marines, when they leave the service, they know that feeling when you get in,
Mm-hmm.
when you get in the theater, and they can feel like when they leave theater, they leave the Marine Corps, like that. When you turn that switch on, like it's always still on. Like the switch is not up all the way, but like in your life, something has changed for you now that like
Hmm.
it's always there. You're always kind of turned on. It may
Sure.
be good. Like you may be able to do that in your daily life where you can focus your energy on your schedule or emails or whatever. But like I think it does something to you. So that makes sense. We just talked about this actually before you and I hopped on a call, just talking to a buddy of mine about some business stuff going on at work.
Mm-hmm.
We happened to turn into this conversation of like his son is graduating intelligence school in the Air Force, and he's going to this duty station. And we had talked so much about your entire life, and his dad saw this too in the 80s. You train, right? And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people get to the point where they want to go use the training to actually do what they've been employed to do.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You're always turned on, you're ready to go. You want to go do it, right? And it's kind of hard to turn that piece off.
Mm.
So that's a
Hmm.
little extra. That's the bonus part of the question.
You mentioned in when you're deployed, it can get wearing to do the same thing over and over
Yeah.
again. Is was that also the case with the Blue Angels, or was that um, or even if it was it minimized by the switching off of pilots like you were talking about, where you're not constantly on all the time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The ability to like, but it's so the difference is though, you're also not in the same area. You know what I mean? Like it is
Sure.
routine can be bad, I think. And the difference is maybe you're going to a new show site. Maybe there's something new there that you've never, I don't think I've ever been to Fargo, North Dakota, right?
Mm.
And
Okay.
where's
Right.
just let's go to Fargo. Like, all right, cool. I've never been there. Let me go look around. In places like Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Eau Claire, Wisconsin was probably one of the fun, like best shows, and the people there in Chippewa Falls and the Lion Kugel Brewery and the people that run that, the old Marines there too. That's not different. I mean, that's routine change that you get to
Mm.
go and experience new things. So that's not necessarily, uh, you know, you're not complacent. You don't have enough time to be complacent there. There's always something new to go do. Now the air show, in like your frame of reference and everything you do, man, it's like, it could be mind numbing for sure. The flying part, great. Like interacting with the fans beforehand, getting in the room, kind of getting ready for what you're going to do for the day. Like, awesome. That's fun. Get ready to go do what you've been hired to do, essentially. Well, you go do it, and then you get back, and now it's like, here comes the debrief. The debriefs take so long that's where it kind of wears down at you, and you may be hungry, and
Sure.
you just worked out for a hot minute. That's about what it is. But combat's different, where it's the same area of operations. You try to do the same thing. It's different. Being on the road, I guess, and living out of a suitcase for those days.
Yeah.
That can wear on you a little bit. And maybe I've repressed those memories already. It's been a hot minute. I got out of there, I think, at the end of 2015. And,
Okay.
So I live out of a suitcase now, but not to that extent.
Right. What, each venue for that, the flight, the demonstrations modified a little bit, correct, to kind of account for terrain or
Not
buildings or.
There may be some, may
Okay.
be some show lines that are modified a little bit because of those things. But the one thing that would modify a show more so than that would be weather, like cloud decks.
Okay, sure.
Like a high, low, or flat show. But for me, it didn't matter.
Okay.
It's all free flowing. It's all art at that point.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious how much involvement you had in planning the show because of your participation, but if it doesn't change much.
Well, so some of it would, but it wasn't too much I'm one airplane. I'm not trying to fly around with, 5 of my buddies on my wings. So
right.
Flying formation's a thing, but flying a single plane, no, you can do whatever you want to do. And it's you and the airplane and the crew. So it's not too hard to modify anything.
Okay.
We would typically go up first because we're an all-weather aircraft. Like we fly with 2 winged aviators with the proper equipment in here that if we ever get into a bad situation, we got all the tools we need to go wherever we need to go. So we would go up and do weather recce essentially to pass back to boss to let him know, like, hey, here's the cloud decks or whatever. Like here's what we see actual right now. So they can make the most informed decision about, taking the planes up if they needed to at all.
Huh, interesting. What was, you mentioned the fan interaction. Mm-hmm. What was kind of, were there any particular ones that stood out to you? Now some 7 years later.
Yeah. There were always the good ones where it was like family and friends that I hadn't seen in forever, and they would show up on the crowd line, and you get to like hug them and talk to them a little bit. Some of the better ones, to be honest, were the ones with the parents. So, or the ones that were very, very open to the crowd. I think there was one, it was a night event, a night commit in Virginia Beach. And they would typically launch an aircraft out of Oceana at night or like at dusk. So it's getting dark. Sure. And everybody would get on the beach and they'd watch the Hornet, turn on the afterburner and just go back and forth on the beach. And everybody's like, ooh, and we would be there and we would intermingle with the crowd. Those are the more fun ones when it's not very regimented and like, please, sir, back away from me, 10 feet and all this sort of stuff, which COVID is its own thing. And I wasn't on the team during COVID. I can't imagine what the team has done now to change protocol.
Oh, sure. Sure.
This social aspect of it. But the ability to interact with the kids that are there, right, and the hope and the joy, right, before adulthood crushes their dreams. But their parents being there too, and the questions that they would have. And it's kind of like, talk to the kids like, hey, you need to do well in school. You need to prepare for college. You need to do these things in order to be successful, right?
Hmm.
And equating that to like compound interest is what I always told them. Like, you put a lot more effort in now and you continue to do that. You make good grades every semester. You volunteer in the community every so often. All these things can add up. College sees that, acceptance boards see that, and they want you to, oh, you're good. You're a good person or whatever.
Sure.
You're able to make it. And then, talking to the parents, I'm like, hey, don't worry. If your son is shitty in college, he can still be a Blue Angel. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying
Right.
that I was God's gift to academia, because I definitely was not. But if you want to go out and volunteer and help people, and you were an A student in the social aspect of school compared to the book aspect of school,
Right.
there's still hope for you yet. So don't. Maybe your kid's an artist,
Right.
Not even an artist, but to tell them like, ease up, right? Don't be the tiger mom or any of that stuff. Like, let them be a kid. Let them focus on, like, help them where you can, give them guide rails, and then like, you need to do this to be successful, but let them have fun. That's what I did, and hopefully some of them, like, maybe they come home with an F one day and they're like, yeah, you'll be all right. Don't be too hard on them.
Right. Take this and learn from it instead of agonizing over the past.
Dude, hey, I think we were, I know in the Marine Corps, it was in my time, a very zero defect mentality, right? Like, you can't do these things. But honestly, when I got into industry, and especially in IT and tech, you want to fail fast. You want to fail quickly, get that out of the way so you know what to correct on the other side of that. So to hear our enablements of our DoD customers, like, it's okay to fail. That's a lesson you need to learn. And like, let's get that out of the way now. Let's fail fast and fail often, and so we can build what works. And this is only in the frame of reference of like software and methodologies and stuff. But man, that could be taught all the way back to kids, right? Like, lose a game of football, you failed. Why? Well, you understand that maybe your strength doesn't lie here. Maybe this play doesn't work or whatever. You make changes. You adapt. But I think we got too focused when we grew up back in the 80s on the negative, right? You cannot fail. You will only win. You'll watch Rocky. You will only beat. Yeah, you'll like. That's it. But it's not that way. There's your insight.
Yeah, no, I that's that is the beauty of this show, is ostensibly it's talking to vets, but it goes really wherever each vet wants and whatever, so that hopefully the listener is always surprised pleasantly.
Hopefully so. Yeah. I mean, I think we take things way too serious, and you found me on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
There's one damn place where everybody takes everything too serious. It's Twitter.
Thank you. Yes, correct.
That freaking place is a damn cesspool, and we'll see if there will be a change up, with new ownership. It's under new management type of thing. Who knows?
Right. Yeah, who knows?
I don't know. I think social media is probably the damn bane of our existence as society, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we all like use it as a place to discuss and debate, make memes, do fun stuff, right? And not.
Yeah, it definitely allows people to connect across distance, but also it allows people to say things without some of the repercussions that you'd experience in a face-to-face conversation.
That's the beauty of Mike Tyson, right? That man was on an airplane.
Right.
I think he said it. It's like, some of y'all don't realize, like, you're going to get punched in the face, and he lives that, right?
Right.
So if you ever met Mike Tyson, would you antagonize him?
No.
Like you would your little brother? No. Not even if I'd had so many cocktails on an airplane. I would not do that. I respect that man because he could punch my soul out of my body. Yet
Right.
some people don't understand that. They don't know the old Mike Tyson when he was in the ring, and it ain't old Mike Tyson. I mean, I guess the previous years of Mike Tyson, he still probably hits as hard as that guy did, his junior self.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it could be used for a force for good. But right now, man, there's just some there's some bad people out there. But whatever.
Yeah.
It
And
was one good aspect. I'm sorry, you brought it up. The space between people. So when I was on the team, that was the first time I set it up, and I did it for that. I thought like social media is the way to go, and it is. Like that's your ability to reach out to people,
mm-hmm.
depending on like the sentiment of collective Twitter, like negative, positive, neutral. The Blue Angels, that's a positive sentiment, and the ability of people like fans reaching out to them. I mean, I saw some haters on there every once in a while, but mostly it was kind of out of fun and jest where their animals were freaking out because the jets were flying over, right, in San Francisco.
Right.
So I got it. There are complaints, there are noise complaints, but nobody really comes out and just straight, talks trash. Like, I don't know what you would even say, but like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, I don't think it's appropriate that you're displaying war machines for kids to idolize or something like that. Like, all right, cool, that's an opinion, I guess. Got it.
Right. Right.
Whatever, military-industrial complex. Let me have my 6-year-old write a report about that, right? Who cares? They're here to have fun. Airplanes go fast. Kids watch planes. Kids watch cars.
Right.
Love the movies. Like, ease up. Come get
They
in
go
my...
fast and they make a loud noise.
Yeah, dude. I mean, what else you want? Monster truck? That does the same thing. Everybody
Right.
loves that shit too. So the ability to use social media to reach fans that weren't like co-located with you is a powerful tool.
Sure.
Spread
Sure.
the message. I don't think we use it enough. I don't think we use it in the right way to its effectiveness, the way it can be used. But that's like a difference of opinion that I have with like every public affairs officer. Very, very conservative in nature, with the plan. And there's
Right.
some that use it, I think, to the skill that needs to be used. But
You'd favor maybe the Wendy's approach over the bureaucracy
now
approach.
there's some sick burners of Wendy's. Like, I'm not saying we're going to go full brand war,
Right.
like
Right.
gyms and Wendy's going off on everybody. But
Yeah.
there's a lot, like, it's very cookie cutter. There's no personality behind it. It's like a playbook that you run from, the Department of Defense, which
Right.
it has its own place. And the training that they give is very, very good. But I just think it could be so much more effective. But then I guess, does it become effective? Then is it eventually information operations? And then it becomes not public affairs. So,
Right. Right. It's a very safe approach,
yeah. Yeah.
which for a bureaucracy style, when nobody, or when it can be dangerous to take
Yeah.
responsibility, I guess I should
Yeah.
say.
I just want so much, or not wanted so much
Mhm.
more for them. I think the exposure that could have been given across like a lot of different DoD public affairs things. But I get what they're dealing with. And unfortunately, there's some negative things too that you have to deal with, like in Hawaii, the fuel spill, right? That's getting into the water supply. That's actually, it's making a lot of people sick, sending kids to the hospital, for example.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
It's tough. I mean, public affairs, you don't just get to deal with all the good stuff. So, I respect that.
Sure.
So I guess play it safe. I'm not in their shoes. I was at one point when it was, putting on that tight suit, watch your mouth, but be human, be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned that you weren't. Let me kind of tie two questions together. One question I always like to ask is, if a kid was to ask you, a teenager was to say, "I'm interested in joining the military." I like to ask, what would your advice be to them, or I should say, they're planning to join the military, and then maybe an aspect of that would be, you mentioned you didn't do so hot in school, but yet you still were a pilot. What was that like? And maybe those two connect.
So they don't.
Okay.
Let's keep them separate. That's no good questions. For like the first one, and I've thought about this, and like I said, I talked about this with a buddy of mine that I work with. So what would I say if a teenager of military age
Right.
inquiry,
Yeah, 17, 18,
yeah,
something
they're
like that.
ready
Yeah.
to do something with their life, and this is a decision. This is a fork in the road. Well, that's like something they got to do internally, right? They need to go talk to their parents, like talk to them first. My parents were very much against me joining the military. They grew up, and this is a frame of reference that I don't have. This is very much 20, 21-year old Dusty. I'm living in my own body, right? I see what I see with my own eyes. I think I know everything, right? I'm always right.
Right.
No big deal. But like, I wanted to go do something so much that it could probably blind you, right? It's an emotion that this is what I believe, and it's tough to disprove that because
Hmm.
of who I am and how I've grown up. So they viewed getting an education from a major 4-year institution, so graduate from Texas A&M, and then join the military is a waste of time and money and of your life that you could have in the future.
Hmm.
Frame of reference. They grew up in a generation of Vietnam where they go to high school reunions where a lot of their friends are in pictures,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And they don't necessarily believe like what the government has told them because the government lies, right? Agent Orange, things like this, things that still come out today. So
Sure.
very distrusting of like the military and what they do and where they came from. So I respect that. You know, there was something, and it wasn't even of them. I don't know what it was, but I knew in fourth grade around that time, like, I want to go do this. I know I do, but I don't know how. Never knew how. Never knew the way forward. So first to graduate, first to be a Marine officer, first to be a pilot, right? All the firsts. So I didn't understand any of that stuff. So somebody comes up to ask me, like, hey, I want to join. Like, what do you think? I think we're pretty good, especially the Marine Corps at recruiting when it comes to the marketing piece. And I told you that, like, you need to tune all that stuff out because that's
Mm.
excess influence, or it's just them waves coming at you, man. Go do what
Sure.
I want. This is marketing. I need you to come here, buy this stuff, do this thing. Why do you want to do it? What do you seek to gain?
Hmm.
And I mean, honestly, there are a lot of things that I sought to gain, and like the going to do the JTAC tour, going to combat, and now you go to combat and you realize that, and now there are things that you can't do, you can't get rid of, you can't unsee some things. It's not all roses, you know what I mean? Like
Sure. Sure.
ye asked and ye shall receive, and then you're like, well, you can't undo that stuff. Not
Hmm.
saying it's bad; it's just part of who you are. Do you want to carry that baggage? Do you want to have the bonds of the brothers that you have while you're over there? It's good and bad, right? So there's a lot to that they need to weigh, and they need to talk to more than just their parents. If they need to go, if they're spiritual, go ask. Go ask your minister, whatever. If you are faith based, don't
Hmm.
talk to your friends. That's the sneaky.
Yeah. Because consulting your teenage peer group is always a
I'll
great
do it if
solution.
you do it. Like that shit right there, that whole joint entry program stuff, like the peer pressure to go in.
Yep.
No, try to have a plan and to know like what you want to do in the military, what you want to do out of the military, because it will end, whether you want it to or not. It's always going to
Hmm. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
have an initial plan, maybe have a backup plan too, right? I mean, join the military. It's a very noble. Most of the time, I say so. Now it gets into the politics of like, it wasn't just we were there and like, okay, that's another conversation for another day. But like, it's a noble calling to serve. But again, you don't need to join the military to serve. You can serve anybody you want to, wherever you
Mm.
are.
Sure.
But it is an avenue to join and look at world events too. Like, are you trying to join because you want to go get in a fight? That if you do, that's cool. Hey, some people like to fight. That's good.
Hmm.
some, I don't know if I'd want to join the military during peacetime because you're going to continue to train. And what I fear is that individual would end up being like me, where you train, and like, God, I really want to be able to do what I've been trained to do.
Sure.
And then never have that opportunity to do so. I guess that kind of like realization, the release there. There's no easy answer, right?
Yeah.
But my wife, for example, her entire line from grandfather, dad, uncles, brother, and her all joined, all served, or still serving.
Sure.
So, I mean, she has her own reasons too. And I think a lot of hers, for example, were kind of influenced on her instead of maybe coming from within. She probably had that too, but I think she had a lot more external influence than I did. I had negative influence.
You joined in spite of your influences. She maybe
You can't
joined
tell me what to
because
do.
of
I'm like, do it anyway.
yeah.
Damn it, they got me.
Huh.
True.
Yeah. So then, what was kind of your path from not being the stellar academic that you wished to being a pilot? Because there is a lot of
You have to be.
maybe I misphrased that.
No. Like how do you? My man, I had to learn how to study, and I learned how to study in flight school.
Okay.
No joke. And I felt, and honestly, it's probably a lot of pressure because now my ass is on the line, right?
Sure.
So scholarships and everything else, like college is essentially like paid for, right? And I just had to go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that wasn't the challenge that I needed. I needed something else. And this is all hindsight. But when I got to flight school, it's like, hey, if I don't do this and I fail, I'm going to go do something I don't want to do.
Right.
And it ain't up to me anymore. Somebody else is going to tell me what to do. Like, they're going to give me my new job. So I better figure this shit out. And I ended up doing pretty good, but I had to like, it was skill and will, right? It was muscle. I just had to power through it. And I did pretty well. Like I ended up getting like academic honors and like stuff that I had never done before, and you really figure out like, how is it? I mean, I was honestly attacking a system, right? And the system was the way the military tests its individuals it's trying to challenge to become a pilot.
Okay.
So it was understanding how they tested and start to think about that. I may have not learned anything, but I knew how to take a test based on what they were going to do. And maybe that was the way. And then some information just stuck, right? But I aced every test, and I think it's most of them, if not all of them, at least the early stages. I ended up, getting some little fancy letter saying this is the first time anybody had smoke checked the test. And
sir, that's me.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it was, how you write the question out too. You're like, yeah, you knew the process of elimination. This is not going to work. I figured that part out. So
sure.
And there were some, like, I guess it was all luck, like 2 or 3 of them that just got close and got it. But like I had to figure out how to study. I had to figure out how to study, and then I did well there. And then you really figure out, like, when you get to the fleet, when you do like the tactical aspect of it, I needed to study more. And then it's kind of rote memorization at a lot of points too, like emergencies, and that wasn't too hard there. So that's really what made it different from like what may be perceived as, well, he's not a strong student in these areas, and like, whoa, it was probably just the challenge, right? The eustress and de-stress. Like, I better, I was challenged here, maybe not so much here. And I think that's what made the difference of me doing well in one and not in school. So, but I got to drink beer in both of them, and apparently that's what I was really good at in college. And did it well in the Marine Corps.
Well, that's just the baseline, isn't it? In the Marine Corps,
That's true.
it's an
So
assumed skill.
I told you were graded like really on two things, like your ground job, right? It's what you're really evaluated on, and your
Yes.
flying. It's really three things. It's like you can only have two of the three too. Are you a good stick? Can you fly? Are you good at your ground job? And do you have a good bar act? Right?
Right.
You can only be good at two of the three.
We'll let the listener determine your situation.
True.
What? Just this is off the cuff, so
Yeah.
You're not prepared for this at all. But one, I just thought a question I should probably start asking is, what's something that now you wish you knew when you joined? If you were to talk to, like you said, 20-year-old Dusty or whatever, or 21 or whatever, and say, hey, heads up, do this, or you should know this.
That's a good one. I think a lot of people, ask that question overall in your life type of thing, right? Like you could go back and talk to young you.
Right. Right.
Very much looking at the military. I honestly do something simple. Like I said, it's going to end, whether you want it to or not. It's either going to be at your own hand or somebody else's. The board's going to pass on you, or you're going to get promoted to a point where that's it. You got to retire after this. You should probably take more pictures, Something simple. No kidding. And it's a little different now because of the day and age we live in. But like cameras then, like you didn't really take any pictures. But like you're going to look back because that's really the prime of your life, regardless of who joins. If you enlist or you go in to be an officer, anytime in there, that is the prime of your life.
Right.
So take more pictures. Keep up with people, right? Because the weird part is in the military, everybody in the military is pretty much like dudes with friends. And this is over, like I'm lumping in the ladies too.
Mm-hmm.
You treat your friends are like your dude friends. You don't see them for like 5 years, but it's never, it's like you never left each other.
Right. Exactly.
It's exactly like that. And because you move every 2 to 3 years, if not more, right? So keep up with your friends. Take lots more pictures because it's gonna end, and then eventually you can bullshit about it, when you get out.
Although there's probably a value to not having a lot of pictures, and it enables you to expand the story with no demonstrable proof. You can't prove me wrong.
There is an active "thou shalt not take pictures." That's when you're on libo. Yeah, you're on liberty.
Yeah.
That is a fact. Be selective.
Yeah.
Don't be blackmailed.
Huh. Yeah, it's
a good question.
I like that. I just thought of it, and I saw somebody mention that, and I thought, that's probably something that could be added. It's kind of similar to how would you advise a kid? It's kind of a similar idea, but more introspective, I guess. So
that's a good one.
What's a question you expected to be asked that I didn't ask?
Oh. I mean,
if there is one,
you're different because you've already had the conversation many times. It's not like the typical, and I don't think I've even gotten this one, but I hear it as one of those typical things that people ask other vets, like, well, have you killed anybody? That shit.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I was a cook, so yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like Steven Seagal style, but I never got that one. I don't think I did. But like, what things, what questions have you've been asked the most, or thought I would be asked? Like the normal ones, like where's the best duty station you've ever had, or what did you, why did you pick your platform? Why did you pick your airplane? That type of stuff. So, and those are always, pretty good. And honestly, geez, I mean, there's never a best. It's always different. I guess it's like, which one of your
Sure.
kids? Which one of your kids is your favorite? You know,
Yeah.
they all got my middle favorite. They got the young favorite. You know, they all bring something unique. Like living in Japan is different and
Mm,
fun.
sure.
The Japanese people and Okinawan people, because they're two different type of people.
Right. Right.
Fun, hard, hard to be away from family that far and the
Mm,
time zones.
sure.
But the living in another culture, I think that's important for other people. I think that
Mm,
really opens up your eyes, right?
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So here's the deal. If you have not had the problem in your life where you're going to go somewhere and you either remember or you forget and you have to figure it out later, what kind of power adapter you have to use. That's a good problem to have, right?
Right.
That helps you to expand your ability to critical think, in my mind. Because now you're not just thinking about power, but the route there. What happens if I get in trouble? What happens if I need to go to hospital? What happens? How do I dial this phone number? Like, do you know what the Philippine area code is? Do you know how to dial back to America from Korea? Do you
Right.
know what I
Right.
mean? Like that world travel and meeting other people and then completely giving into it is something that people, if they don't have the means to do it, that's one thing, but they should have the desire to want to do it, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So go to Korea, go experience the food, the nightlife of like a Seoul, go to Australia, go to anywhere in Europe, Italy, the UK. I mean, UK is sort of the same, even Australia, but Australia is a long way away. I mean, it's a
Hmm.
long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do some weird stuff like that. Go see a wallaby, but be be able to figure things out on your own and be uncomfortable. Go to Dhaka. Go to Djibouti. That place. That's unique.
Huh.
Be a world traveler, right?
Sure.
I
Sure.
think
Yeah.
that's special. Most people won't do.
Take advantage of the places you're in
Yeah,
and the
most
opportunities you
people,
have.
dude. That's back to complacency. I mean, you probably have a routine that you go through. I do, right? And get out of that routine. Force yourself to go do something else. It's not saying like don't do something that's not fun. Like go do fun stuff, but go do stuff that's not there. Go change it up. You work from home, do you?
No, no, not myself. No.
Okay, but like if you have the ability, and some people like to work from home, for example, go work somewhere
Hmm.
else. Go
Oh,
find
yeah,
somewhere.
sure.
Go to a
Yeah.
damn library or a coffee shop or something. Go change the scenery up. Don't just drone about. And I think what we're gonna find difficult as a world of people is like when COVID finally like really lets go and we can go do things. People aren't going to go to they're not going to
Mm,
business
sure.
travel. Like, I mean, I can just call in on that, or I can use Google Meet or whatever. But like, go somewhere,
Right.
go see something new. That's what I think.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. To be willing to take those risks, or even not necessarily a risk, just like you say, just change up the schedule.
Just don't be complacent. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's not even that much to ask. It's still America. You're going to go to the coffee shop down the street. You're going to walk there, bike there, car there, whatever there.
Right.
And we're talking about power adapters. Bring your power adapter. Go do something. Don't forget everything. Just don't don't just wake up, clock it in, put some shorts on, and go log in. You know what I mean?
Right. Live a little.
Yeah, man. Live a
There,
little.
I was just at a restaurant, and down at the bottom, they normally have the undercooked meat warning, and
Yeah.
this one said the health board wants us to notify you that undercooked meat can be unhealthy or can be dangerous, or whatever.
Yeah.
But we also want to tell you that it can be enjoyable too. Live a little.
Yeah. Be
And
tasty.
I was like, that's that. I like that.
Dude, I mean, I saw some recipe on like Instagram, beef tartare, and how they made it. I'm like, man, that looks really cool. That's pretty
Mm.
cool. Won't that kill you? You know, like some shit like that. And they went through an explanation and taught to you. It's all about the handling and where it comes from, and like it can be very safe. It would be safer than the cilantro that's on your meal. And you
Huh.
think about it, if you don't care for the cilantro or like the garnish, the parsley that's on there,
Right.
it can make
Also
you
uncooked. Right.
just as sick
Yeah.
as raw beef tartare that looked amazing and I've never had with this egg on it. Like that's pretty gangster, but it's a
Yeah.
way to look at it. Like, yo, man, you could die in a car wreck tomorrow. But make sure you cook your meat. You know?
Right.
All right, cool, sweet.
I remember reading a book about Dwight Eisenhower, and it was maybe the 30s or something. He took command of a new command, and
Mm-hmm.
as he was touring the facilities, he walked through the kitchen and just grabbed a chunk of raw hamburger and a raw onion, rather, and was just munching on those as he continued on through the tour. And the guy was like, "Wow, that's awesome!"
Man's
But
invincible.
yeah, huh?
It's true.
Yeah, yeah. That's I appreciate that. It's not just there's a lot of value to that for sure.
Yeah.
I think kind of um people are often unwilling, kind of like you're saying with complacency, often unwilling to open their minds to a different viewpoint or to see something from someone else's viewpoint. So shaking it up a little bit, there's a lot of value to that.
That's odd. I mean, and the conversation I had just prior to that was all about empathy, right?
Yeah, sure.
In social media, and everybody is very polarized right now. Their way of the highway. You know, this
Hmm.
is wrong. This is what I believe. This is right. But they don't
Right.
have that ability. And you know, I the empathetic ear or the ability to see through somebody else's lens. I think we do miss that. And that's why I think the traveling, getting out, doing normal things again,
Hmm.
instead of sitting behind a screen, not like we are, but we're interacting, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's a fire and forget. I tell you what I think about you in so many 4 letter words because you said something and like then I just like want those tasty notifications and then
Yes.
likes. Like I want to dunk on you so hard. Like, okay.
That little dopamine rush.
Yeah. Your click on that link validates my existence.
Right. Right. Right.
Washes over me, baby. So much happiness. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
We gotta get away
Yeah.
from that.
Well, let's see. Did you have anything that you wanted to promote or put out there or anything, or
Nah, man. Just everybody
okay.
be cool to each other. We don't need a government. We don't need an elected government. Let's just be cool to each other, right? I don't. I mean, I got my own thing going on.
Sure.
I honestly, if I got to promote anything, go do something nice. Go help somebody.
Sure.
Go help a collective of people, like your neighborhood. You know, don't just be empathetic to an individual that asks for help, but like go out and do some cool shit for a bunch of people. I don't know. That's all I'm promoting. LIVIN, man. Just living.
I
Yeah,
like it. I like it. Yeah, thanks for time. I appreciate it.
no problem, man.
It's
I'm glad. Hopefully somebody, hears it and like, oh man, that is insightful. Nothing I say is insightful. Ever. I mean, there are other people that said it in a way more eloquent way than I have. So
right.
maybe it's just a kick in the pants. Go get it done. Just don't be a dick. Be cool. Go help people. There you go.
Yeah, well even yeah, you can hear something 100 times and then you hear it an additional time just in a different way or something. So,
Whoa. Yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly right. So yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate your time, man. It was good questions. And now, I mean, I haven't had time yet. And honestly, so I have 0 podcasts that I've listened to.
Oh yeah.
I'm adding it to the list.
Yeah. No, I was just more curious because it kind of gives you a flavor of
Yeah,
how it
yeah.
rolls or whatever. So
But I mean, I want to hear it too. I want to hear what the other guys have to say.
yeah.
I mean, hell, my wife even gave me, she's like, oh, I finished this book. I think you're going to really like it. I'm like, add to the list.
Yeah, I understand for sure. I'm just today I was telling someone, oh yeah, I'm on my way to back home so I can record an episode. And they're like, oh yeah, a friend of mine has a podcast about local stuff. And I was like, I have 0 time, but I am also interested because somebody put their time into it. So I was like, oh, what is it about and all that stuff? But I don't have time to listen to it.
Oh, here you go. Okay. Yeah. I got one. And hopefully, this will get out eventually. Promote something. I will tell you, there is one difficult thing, and this goes along the lines of helping people. The transition from military service sucks.
Thank you. I even made a note to ask that. So I apologize for not getting it. Yes, please.
Well, I want, I'm not saying you need to go out like, hey, offer the service member a job. No. Like, be aware of it. And so you know what? Everybody has something different to offer, right? You have done 100% more podcasts than I've done, for example. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You have experience that I don't have. I would have experience that you don't have. Share that. Help anybody else. And specifically the veterans leaving, because maybe my parents were right a little bit that the government doesn't do a great job. Shocker. Of programs that they mean well, like Congress enacts some law to help somebody, and then it just turns into complete shit. This is one of those programs. So the transition program that everybody goes through is awful. But there may be people that hear this that know there are individuals out there that are able to help. Use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the Bible. Sure. LinkedIn offers that free year of premium service for a service member that's leaving.
Oh,
that's solid.
Okay.
So you can like Google it, like, veteran LinkedIn premium membership, whatever, just Google it, find it, sign up, and you're good to go. That's important to start networking there. You're going to get a job. You're going to get a career because of the people you know. Not because of your efforts in your resume, your ability to write the perfect answer in an online job posting. None of that. It's the people. It's the people you interact with that will get you where you want to go. So use LinkedIn like the Bible. Network. There are other programs out there. I think one's like ADP or ACP, American Corporate Partnership, whatever. There's a ton of people out there. So don't overdo it. Don't overwhelm yourself. But use LinkedIn, network, and then pay it forward when you get there, right? Help another vet out. Help anybody out, honestly. Vets need it a little more because we're not necessarily prepared for it. What else? There's one more thing. So networking the self-research. We have a problem with, we leave the service, Marines especially, because we identify as that service. We are a Marine. What are you? I'm a Marine. Well, who did you serve with? The Marine Corps. You're a Marine, right? So that is your identity. Taking and saying I'm done, or having it done for you, like I said, it's going to stop one way or the other. Part of your identity goes away, or you think it does. It doesn't, but you think it does, right? So you are still a Marine when you get out. You're still a vet when you get out. You still talk shit to each other when you get out, and bust balls. It's fun. The veteran community, that sense of brotherhood, sisterhood is still there when you get out. Don't worry about it like that. Don't worry about losing that aspect of it. But do some good research on yourself on what you want to do. That's the hardest part. And we put that last. We want to go, I want to be identified with something, right? I don't want to go in and do this work where I got to figure out what I really want to do. I want to be identified as something else. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a police officer. I'm afraid it's the only thing I can do because I was good at it, right? I need the regimen. I need the discipline. I need the whole type of whatever the word I'm looking for. It's
the mindset you're saying, kind of, or
like just that regimen. Everything is structure.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, so that's what I meant. Structure. Like I need this. Some people do, some people don't. But go look at yourself and figure that out, right? If you take a job, which most vets do, that they absolutely hate, don't keep doing it. Quit. Do it. Go make yourself happy.
Do you, I hadn't thought of that. Do you think it's partly because in the service you're stuck with what you're stuck with and changing?
No, we're stuck.
No, I mean, in terms of like mentally, they're used to being in the service, and it's very difficult to change roles. So then they get a job they don't like, and they're like, mentally they're thinking, well, I can't do anything about it. And you're saying overcome that.
Yeah. Okay. So along those lines, like I want to go do this. I get there and it sucks, and it's like, well, it sucked when I got in, right?
Right. Right.
Like I'm not gonna quit. We don't do that. We don't quit. That ain't how this works. Stop it.
Right.
You are in a relationship with your employer or self-employed, right? And then that's its own set of things. But it is a two-way street. You need to communicate things that you expect. The employer communicates things that they expect, right? It is a relationship. You can beat feet. Get out of there if you don't like it. So I see a lot of it where these individuals get out and they take a job they don't like, the graveyard shift. Some like shift work, and that's great. Some are good at that. Manufacturing, that's great. Dude, I wish I could be a welder. This is going to be baller. That's some gangster stuff. Like building with your hands and things like that. Like that's cool. But some, they end up getting into that role and they just hate it. And they just keep doing it. And then they get old and they get stuck in middle management and they go to the VFW and drink like Boilermakers on every, Friday night. And that's life until they get like a gold watch after spending 25 years there or something. Nah, man, go look inside who you are, what you want to do, where you want to be, and don't accept anything less,
Yeah, find definition outside of the uniform.
It's over.
Yeah.
Don't identify with that anymore. Like that will not define you. It was a prime of your life. You should have taken more pictures, but you're on to bigger and better things. That's no joke. There's so much more that veterans are capable of on the outside. They can still lead and do gangster stuff, just great things, and change people's lives, change their own lives, and be very, very, very successful, and be successful like lucratively. And they have a lot more control. So now I don't need to like put in leave requests and all this other stuff. Like you can go do whatever you want, and you've got a lot more money than what you did in the military. Go buy a boat. Who gives a shit? Whatever you want to do. Go on vacations. Be that world traveler we talked about. But like, dude, they're gonna have a good time, man. They better. Or I'm gonna find them.
Yeah, that's good. I like the positive approach to it. It's easy to maybe take a bad experience in the military or something and just be like, oh ho hum, it's tough, but you're turning around and looking at the golden the oh boy, the
it's
other side of the cloud, whatever.
Yeah, it's the silver lining, right?
Silver lining. Thank you. Wow.
The contractual obligation versus you're a grown-ass human being, right?
Right. You no longer need to ask permission to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you may for a while. Who knows? Like, you know what I mean? I know what you mean. And
yeah.
it's just it's a different world. And I'm not saying the grass is always greener type of thing, but holy shit, this grass is real green. Whoa.
Yeah.
You should totally do this. But I respect the people that go in and serve. I did it. I knew it was time for me to go. And you should recognize that place, right? You know, it's like, man, I think
Sure.
I've done what I wanted to do. I'm out.
Yeah.
Know that point. Know that point. Then both feet, baby, jump straight ahead. Get on out. Don't. I can't say that. I can't say don't like do more government work because I'm not gonna lie.
Hmm.
Some of it is aggravating. The stuff I do, like again, I still enjoy the mission. I still enjoy supporting those people, but God, your bureaucracy and everything else that you do is only making your life harder. But you've got the blinders on when you're still in the service, not in the
Sure.
service and whatnot. But
Hmm.
there's so many more people that can help on the outside. That's all I'll say about that. Be happy with what you do. Make sure you're happy.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Focus on that. That's my parting shot. Go help somebody and be happy in what you do. If you're not doing either one, you're wrong. You should fix yourself.
Yep. Hmm. I can't come up with something. I was gonna try to do a play off of check yourself before you wreck yourself, but
That's
fix
like
yourself
something
before you. I don't know. I'm not that quick.
Dude, it doesn't matter, man.
Yeah.
It's good, and hopefully somebody hears that, and even one person. I try to mentor enough people to get out that I think they've made some right moves, and I feel good. I have nothing to gain from any of that stuff, but when I hear like, "Yo, I'm doing real well," and I'm waiting for some of the young ones that I was mentoring when they're still in now, right? They're not done with their ride yet, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see where they're going to be when they get out, and then add 2 to 5 more years because I think they're going to love it. They're going to love being done, and they're going to love
Sure.
whatever they're doing, or they're going to fix it and then find something they do love. And
Hmm.
it's good. It's good stuff, man. Nothing but the best for everybody here, and all the vets that hear this. Dude, I said LinkedIn. Hit me up. Or my
Yeah.
dumb ass on Twitter. It's definitely not professional. There's no professional advice on Twitter for me at
or,
all,
or anyone. Let's be honest.
or anybody. I don't get paid for that. It's all free. My
Right.
musings, if you will. But dude, everybody use LinkedIn. Hit me up if you need help. We can point you in the right spot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one thing I've noticed and appreciated is among vets the maybe the increased willingness to just help out.
Yeah,
I think partly because of your military experience. You don't. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a vet, and it doesn't even have to be somebody.
correct.
You see somebody in need, and you're generally speaking, percentage wise, a vet is more likely to reach out and help than a non vet. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's all. That's impressed me and been a lesson to me also multiple times.
That's good, man. It's a good observation. I hope more people help out. But I think you're right. Like our job at one point was to help, sometimes forced to
Sure.
help.
Well, and often your motivation.
Yeah,
Often vets, they wanted to join. Sure, maybe for cool stuff or to blow stuff up, but
yeah,
a lot of a high percentage is, um, like you're saying, they see it as service or as an ability to help others, and then the time often just really drives that into you. I think
yeah.
so.
Good, good
Yeah,
questions though.
thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was. I don't take it lightly. I know people are busy and got all kinds of stuff going on, and I think to just jump on some random show you've never heard of and
Dude, it's fine though
yammer
because I
away.
think that it's all about helping, like helping you grow this. Because when
Yeah,
you grow this, it helps other people. So it's symbiotic and it's helpful. So I don't mind it. Hell,
I,
we do these talks all the time. Like we'll fly to places and run our mouths about this stuff. So it's important, that I honestly, I think that it's kind of, maybe I haven't reflected on it enough. I don't know why people want to hear half the shit I want to say, or if it's going to open up some damn door for somebody in somebody's mind or heart, right, to go do
Right.
the right thing. But hey, if it's cool, if it does, awesome.
Right.
Glad to be of service.
Right. Yeah.
I don't write no damn books. This guy does. I mean, his stuff is, Simon Sinek. He's done some great stuff, but I'm not. I'm not
Hmm.
as insightful as he is, or anybody else. But I think the message is still the same. You know, I
Hmm.
have to read this. Oh, he made some analogies in here that yeah, you have to look this up. Read the back of it. The Infinite Game.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of analogies. It's a great way to illustrate things, I think.
Dude, this can't. Oh, hold on. So essentially, I said the same stuff, and this is the first time I read
Oh,
this. That's cool. He used
awesome.
football or chess. He used football or soccer. And I don't
Oh.
remember the first analogy I saw about war being more strategic. It's more like soccer than it is football. I think it was like a long. I don't know if it
Hmm.
was. Oh,
I would say it's
was
more like rugby than football, but whatever.
but I can't remember if it was like Petraeus or
Oh,
somebody.
okay.
Whoever said it a long time ago. I think I read it in like a Houston Chronicle article like a long time ago. I don't even know if I was in the Marine Corps then.
Hmm.
It was like I think my mom showed it to me. This is
That's a good point because football is more structured plays and a lot more timeouts, like you're saying.
so I think it was more along the lines of Vietnam, right? And insurgency type
Mm,
of thing. And it's start stop. You're playing to an end state, and then it
sure.
starts over or something else. Where soccer is fluid and always changing, and you don't know that somebody has an advantage until it's already too late and they're already down the field or something. Is it?
Sure.
I'm gonna have to look it up, but it was a pretty good analogy. I just remembered. But yeah, he said something football and chess. I think is the same sort of analogy.
Hmm.
Neat.
Hmm. It is always.
Well, what do
I
you got going on the rest of the week?
I think I have one other person lined up, hopefully. So I usually try to kind of stack my interviews together,
Cool.
schedule it around work. It's a little easier that way. So
When do you usually kind of cut it and then throw it out into the wild?
I release on Tuesdays.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Excuse me. So hopefully I'll get this one out tomorrow morning.
Cool.
And
Yeah, man. As soon as I
because
see it.
I don't have any in the queue, so I've been a little tight recently. Work's been long, and um, uh, the show's been a little less of a priority for me. So unfortunately,
What other messages do you want to, I guess, target, or audience, or individual contributors?
oh, as far as guests,
Yeah,
or
or whatever. Open ended
um,
question.
yeah, I guess really anybody. As far as audience, my real target audience is me as an 18-year-old. I or people like me, right?
Yeah.
Because at that time I was obviously loved military and all the nerdy books and everything, like I was saying, and all the numbers. But it and I think it's kind of a common attitude, not just myself, but kind of in a lot of civilians. It leads to treating vets as a group as opposed to individuals. And so
Hmm.
my goal for the listener is that they hear from vets as individuals, not
Yeah.
seeing a movie or something, but like this is a vet and this is their story, and it's completely different from anybody else's, but it
Hmm.
has some similarities too. So and then for the guest, I just want to give them a platform to tell their story.
Hmm.
So some of the ones I have are more well known and already have a following. But my real goal is just a vet who nobody knows, and they can tell their story like they've never had an opportunity to.
And one of the reasons that I wanted to join the Blues, I did the JTAC tour first. So deployed 2009, 2010.
Okay.
Fox Company, 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines, right? I then went back to the wing, flying, doing some cool stuff. And now I deployed again in 2011 and came back in 2012. And then I got to the Blues, and somebody asked me, like, well, why do you want to do this? That's a great question, because at the same time, my CO was essentially training me in the event I didn't get selected. We're going to send you to WTI, which is, I mean, if you want to over characterize or just like simplify the comparison, it's like Navy Top Gun, Marine Corps WTI, right?
Okay.
Oversimplified. It's our weapon and tactics training squadron. Like, it's the mecca of how Marine aviation integrates into everything, right?
Okay.
This is where doctrine is written and the tactics are written. It's out in Yuma, Arizona. So he's like, hey, we're going to work you up. We're going to send you to WTI to get the qual. Like, that is the pinnacle of all the quals you can get, is to be a WTI, a weapons and tactics instructor. So, why do you want to apply? And he even asked me that too. And do you have a Marine? Well, let me back up. Why does the Marine Corps exist? Like, who is the main effort in the Marine Corps? It's the Marine Rifle Squad.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
8, 12, however many individual young men, maybe women too, as soon as they integrate. And it's the infantry, the individuals running on the ground, executing, the nation's will, right? And so everything the Marine Corps does starts with them and then builds outward.
Mm-hmm.
Logistics, artillery, close air support, everything, right? The Navy giving them boats to go somewhere, to get off the boat, to go in, right? To invade.
Yeah.
Defend, whatever. Rifle squad. How many Marine Rifle Squad demonstration teams do we have? Right?
Right.
0. They're the most important part of everything we do, and yet they don't have a platform. Just like you asked, like, I want to be able to give a platform. So somebody asked, like, why do you do this? Why do you want to apply to the Blues? Why do you want to be a Blue Angel? Because you're going to go do WTI and all this other stuff. It's because they don't have a platform.
Sure.
But the stories I would go forth and talk about primarily were about the JTAC tour when I was with the Marines and the stuff that they were doing.
Right.
Where you would have sergeants and corporals like making decisions that I wouldn't trust like a 45-year-old, somebody with a shit ton of experience.
Right.
They're doing things that are awe-inspiring, and it's unseen. It's they're thankless. So it's very odd, but they come back, they transition out into society, and they typically go do good things. They succeed, they lead, they integrate back in and do awesome stuff. But the prime of their life and what they're doing now, maybe they get some awards at a ceremony, where we all stand there, but it's just us. Like, the nation doesn't get to see what they do. And now this is this is just saying Marines, but I mean, soldiers too, airmen too. I mean, everybody, sailors.
Right.
There are a lot of, there are a lot of thankless jobs out there, but that was the one thing that I could do while I was selected, fortunate enough to be on a team like that, is to go tell the story of some of these just blatant idiots and the crazy shit they were doing. But God, they were so good at it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of How I Embraced the Suck. If you enjoyed the show, tell a friend. And as my Girl Scout den mother used to say, stay frosty.
There is some visceral experiences of being in your first gunfight that these guys just took off running into it. And my exact response is, well, I can't let this sumbitch go by himself. So I ended up running behind him, and I didn't realize that I run past him because he had taken cover. It's like, holy shit, welcome to the new guy, right?